Bach is often called the father of Western classical music, while Handel is called the mother of music. I thought it's because Bach is a little older than Handel, but they were actually the same age. They were both born in Germany in 1685. Maybe it's because Bach is a little more famous, but anyhow, it must be a little unfair from Handel's point of view. Like this, we often call the pioneer of a field the father of the field. Gallileo Gallilei is called the father of physics. Antoine Lavoisier is called the father of chemistry. Adam Smith is called the father of economics. Is there also a father of philosophy? Yes, there is. More than 2,000 years ago, Aristotle called Thales the father of philosophy. But some people can claim that Handel is the true father of music, not Bach. And some people may claim that Newton is the father of physics, not Galileo. And other people may claim that Karl Marx is the true father of economics, not Adam Smith. However, there's no question as to who the father of Western philosophy is. It's Thales, no question. Why is that? Did Thales come up with some really amazing truths about the world? Actually, the most important thesis of Thales is that everything is made of water. It seems odd that someone who believes something so ridiculous earned the title of being the father of Western philosophy. Today, we'll talk about how that happened. Let's take a look at the world map. This is Greece, and this is Turkey. There's a sea in the middle. It's the Aegean Sea. You can see there are a lot of islands in the area. No wonder that overseas trade flourished here. 2,500 years ago, Greece dominated the trade in the area. You can see that it had complete control of the sea. The names of the city-states of Greece will probably sound familiar. There's Athens, Sparta, and Olympus in what is Greece today. In today's Turkey, there's Troy and Miletus. Thales was born in the city of Miletus. It's basically the birthplace of philosophy. There were other civilizations that were just as advanced as Greece at the time. Mesopotamia, Egypt, Indus, and China. But why did philosophy begin in Greece? It's impossible to know exactly why, but we can find about 3 reasons. First, the Greek society was very open-minded. Miletus was a coastal city where many cultures and different races came together. Freedom in the way of thinking that wasn't bound by a single tradition. This was the first background for the birth of philosophy. Second, the ancient Greeks lived in comfort. At the time, ancient Greece was affluent. The free citizens of Greece even had slaves who did everyday jobs for them. That's why they had time for philosophy. It's difficult to do philosophy when you're tight on money. Third, the ancient Greeks had a tendency to understand the world conceptually. At the time, geometry and mathematics were very advanced in Egypt and China as well. But the ancient Egyptians and Chinese only used them as problem-solving tools. On the other hand, the Greeks found unchanging principles and concepts in geometry and mathematics. This way of understanding the world allowed philosophical thought to be born from geometry and mathematics. So what does it mean that philosophy began in Miletus? What happened that makes us say that ancient Greece is the birthplace of philosophy? We say that philosophy began because there was a change in the way people understand the world. People in the ancient times understood natural phenomena in the form of supernatural mythologies. For example, they believed that Zeus's anger caused thunder and lightning, and that Poseidon's wrath caused the storms at sea. Of course, this was not limited to Greece. Most ancient civilizations understood nature this way. Understanding the world through myths or stories is called mythos. The word mythology comes from this word. But philosophy is a way of understanding things through rational thought and logic. This sort of rational thinking is called logos. Simply put, the birth of philosophy is the transition from mythos to logos. Here's an example of that transition. In Egypt, it doesn't rain much during the summer. And yet, every summer, the Nile floods. It's because there is a lot of heavy rain in the upstream of the Nile, where the tropical rainforest is. But the Egyptians at the time did not know this. So, ancient Egyptians believed that the Nile floods during the summer because of the god of river. But Thales explained that Nile's summer flooding was due to the seasonal wind blowing from the north. He thought that since the seasonal wind, which blows from the north to the south, blew against the flow of the Nile, which flows from the south to the north, it held back the flow of the river, leading to flooding. Of course, this explanation is wrong. But the important thing is not the explanation itself, but the way the explanation came to be. Thales explained the flooding of the Nile, a natural phenomenon, not through supernatural phenomena like the actions of gods, but through the seasonal wind, another natural phenomenon. In short, he explained a natural phenomenon through another natural phenomenon. Not only that, but Thales was well versed in geometry and astronomy as well. In addition to presenting various geometrical theorems, he calculated the height of a pyramid using the length of its shadow. He also observed the movements of the sun and the moon and predicted,
on May 22nd, 585 BC, night will come during the day.
He was the first man to predict an eclipse. Pretty amazing. But the most amazing thing is his theory that everything is made of water. But isn't it absurd? What is so amazing about it? Now let's see why. According to Theogony, a poem written by Hesiod in the 8th century BC,
in the beginning there was chaos, the infinite space. Then Gaia, the goddess of earth, and Eros, the god of desire, came to be. Next, Erebus, the god of darkness, and Nyx, the goddess of night, came from chaos. Nyx and Erebus gave birth to Ether and Hemera. Gaia gave birth to Uranus, the god of the sky, and Pontus, the god of sea. With Uranus, Gaia had the 12 titans, 6 males and 6 females, who were the ancient ancestors to the human race. Then Gaia and Uranus gave birth to the Cyclops and the Hecatonchyres. The Titan, Cyclops, and Hecatonchyres represented the powers of the nature.
Then, all of a sudden, Thales claimed that everything is made of water. At the time, this was sensational. He reached this conclusion by making observations of the world around him and coming up with a logical explanation. After Thales, Anaximenes said that everything is made of air, and Democritus said that everything is made of atoms. Later, the atomic model was developed by John Dalton, Joseph Thomson, Ernest Rutherford, and Niels Bohr. Today, it's said that everything is made of protons and neutrons, which are made up of quarks. Think about it. What is the most revolutionary thought among these? Yes, it's that everything is made of water. Thales was the first to think of a reductionist concept. Reductionism is the idea that even the complicated nature is made up of something simpler and more fundamental. What do physicists do today? They put electrons in a particle accelerator and split them by making them collide. Then they study what comes out from there. They spend tens of billions of dollars on this. Why do they do this? It's because Thales came up with a question no one has ever thought of before. The question is, what is everything made of? That's why Thales is called the father of philosophy. In Plato's Theaetetus, it's said that Thales fell into a well while gazing up at the stars in the night sky. Watching this, a maid remarked, "How do you expect to see what is in the heavens when you can't see what is at your feet?" It was a jab at philosophers who know nothing about the real world. But Thales wasn't so naive. There's a story about Thales that shows this. At the time, olive was very valuable. One year, when the olive harvest was bad, Thales bought all the olive presses in town. Since there weren't many olives to be pressed, people sold the presses to him at a low price. But the next year, olive harvest was very good. And since Thales had all the olive presses, he was able to rent them out to people at a high price and earn big money. Of course now, you go to prison for this, for breaking the law against monopoly. What this story tells us is that Thales wasn't so ignorant. The reason he fell into a well isn't because he couldn't see what's at his feet, but because he was more interested in the world above, the world of philosophy, the world of mathematics, and the world of the abstract. Let's wrap up. First, the reasons philosophy began in ancient Greece were the freedom of thought, economic abundance, and a conceptual way of thinking. Second, philosophical thinking is the transition from mythos to logos, understanding the world through reason. Third, Thales understood the world through reason and theorized that everything is made of water. This is why Thales is called the father of philosophy.